Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 48. Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so honored to have with us today Lauren Wells. She's a CEO, and she's also the founder of Elsie Fits You and Thrive Abundantly. It's a New York City-based company. She's also a coach and a speaker. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, Frances. I appreciate you having me on.
You know what? I've given our audience a very brief bio about you. Why don't you fill in the gaps, and why don't you share with us what you'd like us to know about your company and yourself?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, I'm Lauren Wells, but I typically go by Elsie Thriva or LC, especially in the fitness world. I do run my fitness. I have a health and fitness business that I've been running for about 4 years here in New York City. And then I recently been adopting, really putting a lot of time and focus into entrepreneurship and business coaching. So that's where Thrive Abundantly was birthed. And I started working with women entrepreneurs to help and expand their business online and help them, get unstuck in areas in their life and their business, because I believe the two work hand in hand. So, I also do that in speaking engagements. I go to colleges and talk, especially when they want to either talk about health and fitness as well as any kind of like personal development, inspiring areas to, create success in your life as an entrepreneur and things like that. But I've really been focusing a lot on my Thrive Abundantly business because entrepreneurship is my passion.
So tell us, how did you get into that space in terms of health and fitness?
Well, the health and fitness started back in 2009, honestly, and that was just my own personal journey and growth. I had enlisted into the Navy back in 2009. I was nowhere near, working out or anything like that. But if I knew I was going to get into the Navy, I had to be active. So I, started going to the gym, didn't know what I was doing. But, I knew I had to start getting a lot more active in order to pass some of the tests and things like that, the physical tests that they have. So that's where the start of it came. And on that journey, I started to realize how I started to feel better. I had some health ailments that I had experienced and had went through over the time. I had thyroid issues, and I noticed how my health started to improve. I started to feel better. I lost weight. And over that time and that journey, other people will ask me for help, or, we'll all go to the gym together. And it wasn't until about 3 years later I decided to just go for it and start getting into the field. Went and got my certification here in New York at CUNY. And then I started working as a trainer at one of the high-end gym here in Manhattan. And then shortly after, about 20 months after, I started my own business.
What was that aha moment? How did you know that your business was going to be successful and that was the industry that you should focus in?
Well, at the time, because, everything works in seasons, while that was my start of my personal journey and realizing it was like I was kind of like a magnet and how people were coming to me and helping in that area, it just started to become something that I had to start to focus on what I was doing. What was already a part of me and my lifestyle. And it was just kind of like, in a sense, why not go ahead and go for it now? And then eventually it just started to come, different things started to come in waves once I started setting the intentions of what I wanted. At the time I was working I had a job and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in the space where I was. And I've done a lot of things over the years. I started entrepreneurship journeys about 13 years ago now. And I've dibbled and dabbled in different network marketing opportunities and stuff like that. I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And one of my mentors told me, find something that you love to do that you'll do for free, but get paid to do it. And that was something I was doing for a long time. Like I said, it was 3 years before I finally got that aha moment that I was going to take that leap, and go for it. And as when I said it, things work in seasons per se, that business has been able to expand and grow But I noticed over time, I have a lot of people, because of my experience and 13 years of being in different networks and among different people and talking about entrepreneurship, especially Black entrepreneurship is so needed. That's when I started to expand Thrive Abundantly. And that was birthed. And I noticed also too, when I was doing fitness training, especially for, our community and our Black people, I realized not that many people who look like me, who has my same skin color, was working with me. And that was a little bit of a problem for me. And I was just like, what is it? And a lot of times, monetarily, that was the issue. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to start focusing on helping women like me, particularly, I was looking for, to be able to afford to live a better lifestyle, whether if it's hiring a trainer or not. But those are the things I hear and complain as far as, I can't eat healthier, or, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. And I personally know what that's like, as far as growing up. And that's when I started to really, that was like the second aha and the biggest aha, because I wasn't thinking in a bigger spectrum. But that was like the even bigger mission aha, because I thought I was only specifically on my journey just supposed to help, women with just their health and wellness, when I realized I had to think in abundance from, working from the spectrum of, balancing their life, helping them build, their business, create income. And then eventually, all those things work in a full spectrum as far as being able to, create wealth as well as expand and, have a greater health.
So how would you define, Elsie, how would you define success personally?
That's a great question. So I would say, success is a process. And once I realized that, it wasn't like really a destination, that's when, it really manifested for me in my area, where I started to realize I was on a journey of success, because a lot of times we look at success as a destination. Like, we got to get to, from point A to point B, and point B is where the success, but the success is the journey that it takes to get from point A to B, then moving on to C. And then, when you take a moment to look back, not reflect that it's going to take you down from any, hurdles or journeys, but really look back at what you have accomplished and what it took. Wow, I was at point A. Now I'm all the way at point C, and D, and all the way to Z, wherever it is that you need to go. But when you realize that the destination is not success, because it's not what you think it is. Because once you get to that destination, for me, I'm a big go-getter. That's where the whole term of Thriva in my name came from, because I love to thrive and keep going. And when I realized, I have a destination of wanting to get to point B, as I'm using an example. Once you get there, then you're like, okay, how do I get to C? Okay, how do I get to D? And you just keep going. So once I realized the point of the success is within the journey to get to each level where you're trying to go, and embracing it, and, all the setbacks, the hurdles, the failures, that's when it's really like you have been successful, because you didn't fall or stop, because you went to that next destination, which you thought was success.
So what would you say, Elsie, is a daily or weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
I'm really big, and one of the things I've noticed over time, and maybe this came with age, I really realized that, really self-reflecting and taking time, but I really, really put a lot of my journeys and I guess the success of what people see and do in my I have a daily morning success ritual. And there's no like right or wrong ways to do it or anything, but I really take that time, to feel within myself. And what that is for me, because even with my clients who I coach, we paint the picture of what their daily success ritual would be like. But every morning, especially if you're a service for, someone, you need to always make sure that, you're putting that time within yourself, because, you can never pour from an empty cup. I always say that. So I take that time to fill me up, fill my cup. And my daily morning success ritual requires, getting up in the morning. I do, my deep breathing exercises. I really focus on having my prayer and meditation. So I always start my day as much as possible with, the sense of having gratitude. So I focus on saying the things I'm most grateful for, waking up this morning. My prayers are more in a sense of saying what I'm grateful for, not like asking, oh God, could I have this and could I have that? It's more being in a sense of happy where I am and where I'm going. So once I focus on where I am and have my prayers, I say what I'm grateful for, and then putting the visualization on where I like to go is my affirmations. So I do my affirmations every morning, and that's really what I really focus on. And if I have time to journal and things like that, I start very early in the morning because I do run 2 businesses. But I would say my daily success morning rituals is important.
So are you running these businesses full time? Are you doing this, or do you have another, like a 9-to-5 job?
No, I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2011. So what are we in 2017? So 6 years. I've been able to, leave corporate and, be able to build and sustain my business. Of course, LC FitU, the training business, was the first one I started to expand and grow. And then Thrive Abundantly was recently birthed in less than a year.
And so what is one valuable lesson, Elsie, you wish you knew before starting your business?
I would say, clarity starts in black and white. It's really important to get things out of your mind and on paper and get like super crystal clear of what I wanted to create. I didn't start really taking like the leaps and the journeys and getting where I was because, like I said, I started this whole entrepreneur journey about 13 years ago. Of course, I've been in and out of work, went to school, I've had 9-to-5s and all over. But until I started really getting clear, and really figure out what I wanted, and not just because of money, what type of something, what type of service or something I wanted to provide, and not service in a sense of still thinking money. But I had to get all my creations, everything that is scattered and the ideas in my head in black and white, really writing it down on paper and visualizing what I want to create and who I want to be.
So what's working well for you right now in your business?
I would say building myself as an entrepreneur, and I say this with my clients as well. In Thrive Abundantly, my coaching business, you have to build yourself. You have to build yourself is how you're going to be able to, expand and move. And I would say there's 3 things that really works for me as far as the daily success morning rituals. And at night, setting my day of what I want to do, what I'm creating. And I really focus on just the 6 most important things, and writing down that. And then also omitting especially successful, we all have to pay our bills. We all have to do things, but, omitting non-income producing activities as not the top 6. So I focus on the top 6, whether it's something that I need to do for myself, like I said, my daily success ritual is the top one. And then the other things I focus on is either things I resist the most, don't feel like doing, because most of the time that's where, I start to be able, that's where your business clicks, that's where you'll start to be able to build that success or the income or things like that you want. So I really focus on the top 6 things that's, the most income producing activity or the things that's going to set my business ahead and knock that out the way first. And then, start going down the list. But I always make sure I, really focus on those top 6 things.
So, Elsie, who would you say are your top 2 influencers in your life, and what lessons do they teach you?
Top 2 is pretty hard to just narrow down. First, I would definitely say my mother. She keeps me balanced. I'm not perfect. We're all human. We always have our trips and falls and stumbles. I just, I don't focus a lot of energy on how many times I fail. I just stay attached with how many times I get back up. And my mom is a big influence for that. If she had noticed a difference in anything, wrong with me, she's always there to kind of help me and remind me where I'm at. And I will also say, a coach always needs a coach. I always found out if Oprah has a coach, I need a coach. So I would say my personal coach, he's Marquel Russell. He was a major impact. I started working with him over a little over a year, and that's where a lot of things took major leaps in my life and my business.
So talk to a younger you, Elsie. What advice would you give a younger you?
If I were to talk to a younger me, I would definitely tell myself to, spend time with yourself, to, really visualize what you want and not based on society and, what others think because I really just followed, go to school, get a good job, pick something that pays money. And I never really focused on, what gifts I had, what do I like to do? I didn't focus on things that I love and, stuff like that. And I will also tell myself to never stop journaling. I don't know if you ever did, but, a lot of girls usually as they're younger, they always have like a little journal or a diary, and things like that. And, you think that's something like little or teenager and you stop. And then that's when I realized I stopped living. And I had to get back to that because when you journal and you visualize, get stuff out your head, so much stuff can grow and create. You just never know what opens up. So I would definitely say, never stop visualizing and never stop journaling.
Very good. So what is your end game?
My end game, as far as with business or in life.
However you want to answer the question, do you want to talk about your end game in life or your end game with your business? Whatever you decide.
I guess I would say my end game, it affects because, and this is exactly why Thrive Abundantly started, just because it's working and looking in a bigger spectrum. I would say like my end game is just to focus on making an impact, really having, a lot of times when people think about business, it's always about money and those things come, so my thing and my focus is really making an impact, for men and women, but I really focused on women, to really just be at a sense to, live in their purpose, really focus on, what they want to create in their life. And if I had any kind of influence with that by whatsoever, I'm totally happy. And, of course, my end game is to, build my business to be a multi-million-dollar, corporation by impacting, hundreds and thousands of, people to live in purpose and step into the mission and build their business.
So, Elsie, what role or responsibility do you feel you and your company can contribute to increasing the number of Black entrepreneurs?
I definitely think because entrepreneurs are so needed, and it's kind of like the hot topic now. But a lot of times people say they want to be an entrepreneur just because it's a hot topic, but have no direction on where they want to go, what things you need to focus on. So, with my business and my corporation, what we really focus on is really honing into your message. Not only do we just, talk about, the business aspects, the branding, the marketing and things like that they need to, work on and growing and expanding, but really narrowing down on, what it is with, with your life and the impact. Just as much as you asked me what's my end game, you saw how it worked hand in hand with both of what I want to create in my life. But, when you really focus on what you want to do and what you want to be known for, all the other things that you want comes. So I would say my business really focused on that and also shifting. This is really important. Shifting the mindset of our Black people because, a lot of us come from such a impoverished lockdown mindset. And I didn't realize that until, over time and you just start to expand your network and getting around, but really shifting the mindset to believe that you can do it because, we tend to think that we can't have, what others see, or we look at the mindset of being wealthy or having things in an abundance. We look at that as sometimes, as far as where I grew up, as a dirty thing or, money grows on evil, is the root of all evil and things like that. So really working on, helping and exchanging the mindset of our people. But by no means, I always say this, I don't try to convert anyone. I just, give the light. They say you can bring the water to the well, but you can't make them drink it. So I really focus on not converting them and giving them the light, but just be the light. And, others who want to, embrace that for themselves, we will. And that's where the impact of what I want to create.
So tell us, Elsie, what is a technology tool or technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
There's a few platforms, that I think is, really, important. One I use all the time, just because, if I'm on the go a lot or whatever, I use Evernote. And I know it sounds so simple because people like Evernote. It's just, you know, you can have it as an app on your phone and also download on a computer. But this is where I jot down and write a lot of my stuff, because when you use Word document, you know, you can't have that directly on your phone. So I use Evernote. Anything that you use as far as like an audio, you know, form of podcast or something that you can listen to for self-development. This is part of my daily, you know, success ritual. Facebook. And I've had great success over the years, you know, on Facebook. And now Facebook is like such a very great tool because you could do, you know, run your ads, and things like that. But it depends on your business, because certain, businesses may have a bigger, larger platform from, you know, Instagram or LinkedIn. But Facebook for me is a major tool, as far as networking, connecting. This is how I connected with you, on Facebook. What else? I would say some form of a landing page, you know, to automate your business. One of the things I use is lead pages. And then a booking page. There's several out there. You can book me, Calendly, Schedule Once. So that's super important, depending on your lane of business. But for me, that's super important. And, of course, you gotta, you know, accept payments. So you need either like a PayPal or a Stripe account, direct pay. Those are really good, important tools that has been definitely helpful in managing my business.
So talk to the person in the audience. They want to start a business. They're fearful. What advice, Elsie, would you offer them?
I would really, you know, ask you, you know, for you who's listening, you know, what do you have to lose if you don't start this business? And I'm asking you, but I'm saying this for you to ask yourself. And, you know, write this down. This is where journaling, where I said, you know, you get clarity in black and white. And then also, you know, why is this important to you? You know, dig deep enough, to the point that it hurts. And not to be like brutal or anything, but this is where you find your passion. These are tools and areas that we work on, you know, with our clients. And finding out, you know, when I say what hurts you, that's where you find your why. If you know, you ever been listening to anybody, any entrepreneurs, anybody that says successful, they always say, you know, you got to have a big why, or I know my why. And why, for me and for what I've learned and what my mentors told me, is your why is what hurts you. The acronym WHY is what hurts you. So really ask yourself in those questions and what it is, and that's where you start to get clarity and even knowing if this business was. I've built and been in a lot of different streams of business, and it took until really now to finally get my groove of what I really wanted, because I didn't really ask myself those questions or dig deep enough and get clear on my why.
Very good. So let's shift gears a little bit. What is the worst moment in business, and what was the takeaway?
I would say, okay, so one of my worst moments, this is like when I really took that leap and left corporate, right? You know, a lot of us sometimes, and a lot of entrepreneurs may do this, you get caught into the dream and you're just like, I'm just going to go and jump, and I want to do this for, I don't want to work for anybody else. And I took that leap, and, I knew this, but I guess it was a learning experience. You know, I never took it as a worse or failure, but I took the jump in my training business, actually. And, I didn't really focus a lot on, you know, building my marketing per se. I had the notion of thinking, you know, these clients are going to stay forever. And, I definitely took a major stumble, like, in my business, and tripped when I really went from, you know, bringing in, pretty much triple my income I was making from my job to literally only bringing in just maybe about $500-$600 a month. I live in New York City, so that is like impossible to live off. So I had to really kind of go back and look at like, what was I looking wrong? And the thing was, it was just, you know, I had to remember in business and in life, it's always a revolving door. You know, you always have to just keep going, because that door is going to keep going. People are going to come in and come out. And even if it's you know, who you are now is going to be someone else later as you grow. So I had to remember that and kind of go back to the basics on what it was to continue to keep building myself, not get complacent, as well as building my business and keep marketing my business.
So you mentioned you launched your business. You're currently in New York City. Is that the best city for you to launch your businesses?
I really don't. I mean, in today's world, that's only my fitness business that I have here in New York. But, I run Thrive Abundantly online. I have clients in Arkansas, California, Oklahoma, Georgia, so I really don't think any city, as long as you got somewhere where you have Wi-Fi, because that is the name of the game now, with building and growing your business online. Even with my fitness business, I started to expand that online. So, I really want, to build and grow my business to a point that I could be anywhere in the world. As long as I have Wi-Fi, you can grow. So I think it's a great city, and, this is my home. This is where I'm from, and there's a lot of great connections, but I don't think, this New York is just the best city, especially when you have everything online now.
So what book would you recommend, Elsie, and why?
Okay, two of my favorite books. I know I'm cheating. You said what book, but The Four Agreements, I think by Don Miguel, don't quote me on the last name, but I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz. And that book is really great, The Four Agreements. And another book is The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. That is what changed and expanded my life to really start going forward and pushing my business to really get in gear and building my own brand, rather than, different companies. And that book is by T. Harv Eker.
Okay. So if you conducted this interview, Elsie, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you, and I'd like you to answer the question?
What's the one question I would ask myself? What keeps you going and light the fire under you? And if I would have to, ask that question, I would say, enjoy the process, and in the journey of the process of what this grows, and, take your trips, your falls and stumbles, as a building block to, keep developing and building you. Once I really let go of, the one end game and getting to, a end point, and just love the journey and be in the being, that's really what kept me going. There's a light, a fire. And then when I focused on, being the light, and that the fact that living in the light is not optional for me, is non-negotiable. That's what kept me going. Even when I'm down, I always remember that living in the light is not an option. It's non-negotiable.
So tell us, how did you name your business?
So as far as for, Elsie Fits You, that's, my nickname, Elsie, she fits you as, in your fitness. But for Thrive Abundantly, and that's, been very proud of and loving where it's expanding and growing. But as my name, everybody knows me as Elsie Thriva, and Thriva comes from, my brother and I actually created it, and we both look at ourselves as, expanding and growing as a thriver, so we took the term of being a thriver. Taking the niche of my name and thinking in a bigger spectrum, especially my end game is to make an impact. I thought in abundance. So that's where, Thrive Abundantly was birthed.
So if you had to do it all over again, would you stick to the same industry or change?
Nope. I would stick to the same way how it happened.
Absolutely. And so is there anything, Elsie, that would make you stop? Absolutely not.
As long as there's blood pumping in my body, and like I said, this is non-negotiable for me. Living in the light and being the light is what it is. And that's what Thrive Abundantly is all about. If I don't thrive, I can't live. I don't survive. I really focus on thriving and not surviving. So, no, I can confidently say that.
So are there two Black entrepreneurs that you would like to share that has inspired you to keep going?
Yes. So, actually two I listen to the most. Lisa Nichols, I love her, and, you know, I relate to her so much, and the passion and the things that she's grown and built. And honestly, that's also an inspiration for Thrive Abundantly, because her brand is motivating the masses and thinking in a bigger spectrum of abundance. And Les Brown, I love that man. I love listening to him. You know, he has so much fire. Whenever I'm down, he's definitely one I listen to, because he just gets that rage, you know, really pumping in you and get that fire back into you.
So what is the biggest achievement so far in your business today, Elsie?
The biggest achievement is really going and expanding as far as to be my own brand, you know, my name, what I've grown to, you know, create. And, you know, being in a sense that I've made a difference in someone's life. You know, I've done a lot of things, and in both businesses, you know, being able to work with someone where they were able to, you know, get rid of, you know, whatever health issue particularly they had, get off medication, you know, they had chronic back pain forever, and you know, they no longer have that. That was an impact. Same thing as for Thrive Abundantly. I still look on building an impact, you know, helping someone get out of their own way to actually, you know, expand and grow their business. You know, I love when someone gets clarity in some way or form, and if I had any kind of help with that, and really it's dumb. You know, they really get that impact for themselves, but just to have an influence to, you know, focus on what they really have within themselves to, you know, take it to the next level. That's the success and all the achievement I need.
So why don't you give our audience 3 truths that you've learned in life so far?
3 truths I learned. I would definitely say, one of the, you know, truths I would particularly say is, you know, your destination where you want to go for success is not what you think it is, you know. And like, you know, the success is in the process. So I would say that's one. Number 2, which should be number 1, is mindset is everything. Everything, the way you focus and think on particular things, the way you take stuff, you know, life doesn't happen to you, you know, it's how you take on, you know, your mindset on how it happened to you and how you're living towards it. So mindset is everything. And the third one, I would say, you know, business particularly gets easier when you focus on, when I talked about filling your cup, you know, really focus on being selfless. A lot of times people think it's being selfish, but really being selfless and figuring out, you know, your true intentions and your why. That's where, you know, business really grows and expands. A lot of times people just think of the mechanics and you know, the logistics of everything with business, but that doesn't start really growing until you get crystal clear where you want and your intention.
So, Elsie, share with our audience a parting piece of advice that you want to offer.
I would say, really take, you know, parting piece of advice. I've said this, you know, a couple of times, but I would say just what my mentor told me that really ignited and changed my life, you know, especially if you're stuck, and I've been there, you know, find something that you love to do, you know, that you really love to do, that it lose your track of time and that you'll do for free and get paid to do it. That's the real enlightenment of, you know, building and growing a business. And there's 3 things I would say. So forgive me, Francis, on that. I would say focus on, you know, celebrating yourself, forgiving yourself, and committing to yourself. And when you do that, that's where you have a lot of areas where you may get unstuck. Because I know a lot of times business, you know, owners, everybody who comes to me and want to help and build their business is always coming to a point where they're stuck. And a lot of the areas will come into those areas, you know, celebrating yourself, forgiving yourself, and then committing to yourself.
Very profound. So we've come to the part, Elsie, in our interview where it's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Okay.
All right, Elsie, the last movie you saw?
Atomic Blonde.
You relax doing what?
Meditating, reading, and being around water.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
That's a hard one. I would say Usher.
And your favorite dance song?
Favorite dance song. Oh, that I would have to pass because I can't think of just one.
Okay. And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
Spinach and avocado.
And your favorite month?
May. It's my birthday month.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you so much, Elsie, for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. But before we conclude, why don't you tell us the best way for our audience to connect with you and to support your business?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/CEO Elsie Thriver, that's LC as in cat, T as in Tom, HRV as in Victor, A. So that's CEO Elsie Thriver. So facebook.com/CEO Elsie Thriver. And then you can also opt into my mailing list if you go to surviveorthrive.win, WIN.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And if there's anything that we can do to support and promote your business, don't hesitate to reach out. And we want to thank you again, Elsie, for spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. That's a wrap.
Thank you so much, Francis. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.